Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Monday Roundup with avoiceformen.com and shrinkformen.com. I am, as usual, Dean Esmay, creepy stalker lover and operations manager for A Voice for Men. Joining me, as per usual, is Dr. Tara Palmatier. Dr. T, say hi to the lovely people.
Hello.
And the Woody Allen apologist and shameless kitten eater, Paul Elam. Say hi, Paul.
Hey, old Woody.
Woody can do no wrong. He is the perfect being. Honestly, guys, I thought we had said enough about the Woody Allen situation last week, and I was ready to just go, okay, Holly weird, bye. Men deserves the innocence or presumption of innocence. I don't know what's going on here. Bye. But then Woody Allen had to go ahead and ruin my week and go and defend himself. I'm being a little sarcastic, of course. And I read Woody Allen's article in the New York Times, his response to Dylan Farrow accusing him of raping her. And frankly, it was that moment I went snap and decided, I think I believe Woody. And I went from having no opinion but taking the express opinion that he's kind of creepy, he's weird. What he did with Sunyi was not really justifiable. It's bad behavior. On the other hand, that doesn't make him a rapist. I really didn't want to say more. But now we decided we wanted to say more, didn't we, Tara?
Well, yes, we did, although actually that was Paul's decision, because I thought Paul last week he didn't care one way or the other either, but as the story, at least for me, as it unraveled, it just echoed of parental alienation, false allegations made during a custody battle, the type of stuff I read about, I work with day in and day out. This, to me, has all the markings of a calculated smear campaign, in addition to possibly a publicity maneuver for Ronan Farrow's new MSNBC talk show. And it's...
Ronan Farrow?
Ronan Farrow, formerly Satchel Farrow. Yes, at some point after the scandal broke in the early 90s, Mia Farrow changed her children's names, which to me is all kinds of crazy. It's like, not only am I going to destroy your relationship with your father, I'm going to give you new identities.
And I gotta take the hit here because I did say last week, I basically don't give a shit. And the fact of the matter is that was before Woody Allen's rebuttal came out, and before something else that I wanted to talk about a little bit. We put a meme up on the AVFM Facebook page that said, after Woody Allen's, we've lost our host, he'll be back. After we got Woody Allen's rebuttal to all this, we put up a meme on the AVFM Facebook page that just had a pair of really geeky, nerdy glasses and said, I believe Woody. The responses to that were what I found really incredible, out of our own community. I know Zed was made somewhat famous in the men's rights community for saying years ago that most MRAs are one blowjob away from being a mangina. And I think that there certainly can be some truth to that. I don't buy it wholesale, but I do believe one thing, is that most human beings are one excuse away from convicting a man outright with no evidence whatsoever. The reactions that I saw to that meme, to me, were disgusting, and the people that were making them were disgusting. One, and I want to ask Dean to address this in just a moment, the disinformation about Woody Allen's life is so extreme that it's amazing the level of ignorance and how quickly people will rush to judgment to say this guy is guilty based on XYZ, and XYZ isn't even fucking true and never was. And that's what sort of renewed and sparked my interest in this. And that, and one other item, Jessica Valenti did an article about this, and I don't know, whatever publication is still running her shit these days. And she had this really wonderful argument about why we should not defend Woody Allen. And let me tell you exactly what it boiled down to. It boiled down to the fact that her parents quit watching his movies when he married Soon Yi. So, you know, if you didn't see a post-1985 movie by Woody Allen or starring Woody Allen, then that's evidence of his guilt and why he should not be defended under the presumption of innocence. Her second point of fact in her blistering, incisive article was that when she was a teenager, she got catcalled. What the fuck this has to do with Woody Allen, I could only exist in Jessica Valenti's mind, but what can I say? And her third point of evidence in her 3-paragraph article about why we should not defend Woody Allen was, of course, Mary Koss's statistics on how many women are raped in this culture. And that was it, folks. I'm telling you, that was it. Google Jessica Valenti, Woody Allen. You can find the article. I'm not going to link to it anywhere. But it was just the most ridiculous, absolute, pitiful excuse for an analysis of this situation I've ever seen. And then it occurred to me that it wasn't any different than some of the stuff I was reading from fucking MRAs on the AVFM Facebook page. It was embarrassing. And so that's why I wanted to come back and revisit this. Dean has a few facts, as I understand, that I think need to be established in this discussion, and I'd appreciate it if I could play host for a second and ask Dean to go over those.
Unmute yourself, Dean.
Unmute yourself, Dean.
We are still working. We are still working on technical issues. Apparently, my microphone causes an echo on the other end for reasons I do not understand, since it doesn't happen anywhere but in Google Hangouts. That's okay. Paul's going to buy me a brand new microphone. So, thank you, Uncle Paul. So anyway, all right. There are a number of salient facts. And a couple of things I want to point people to, but I want to start with an article in the Daily Beast, the same Daily Beast that declared Paul Elam to be a rock star.
Wearing my Pink Floyd in honor of that.
Wearing your Pink Floyd, yeah, yo, all right. So be sure to throw your guitar pick at people when you come to the conference in June. Just have guitar picks and throw them at the audience. But anyway, there's a really good article by Robert B. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. It's either Weed or Wide, W-E-I-D-E. And it's called The Woody Allen Allegations Not So Fast. Now, he has known Woody Allen quite some time. He did a 2-part PBS special called Woody Allen, a Documentary, which coincidentally, even though I am not a big Woody Allen fan, I know we're going to get 2 allegations out of here. One, I'm a Woody Allen sycophant. No, I'm not. I find him a fascinating figure who made some good movies and some movies I don't give a shit about. I'm not a huge Woody fan, but whatever. Or 2, I'm an MRA. I've gotten this several times. I'm defending him because I'm an MRA. No, fuck you. I'm defending him because not only does he deserve a presumption of innocence, but there's a lot of facts that run counter to Dylan Farrow's narrative. But even beyond all that, there's a whole Robert Wide. I'm just going to go with Weed. Robert Weed knows Woody Allen very well. He knows Soon Yi very well. He has followed Woody around, and he mentions a few key facts in the Daily Beast. It's titled The Woody Allen Allegations Not So Fast. And here are some incredibly important facts. He says, every time I stumble upon this topic on the internet, it seems that people who are most outraged are also the most ignorant of the facts. Following are the top 10 misconceptions, followed by my response. And he puts his response in italics. Number 1, Soon Yi was Woody's daughter. False. 2, Soon Yi was Woody's stepdaughter. False. Number 3, Soon Yi was Woody and Mia's adopted daughter. False. Soon-Yi was the adopted daughter of Mia Farrow and Andre Previn. Her full name was Soon-Yi Farrow Previn. Number 4, Woody and Mia were married. False. Number 5, Woody and Mia lived together. False. Woody lived on his apartment on Fifth Avenue. Mia and her kids lived on Central Park West. In fact, Woody never once stayed overnight at Mia's apartment in 12 years. Number 6, Woody and Mia had a common law marriage. False. New York State does not recognize common law marriage. Even in states that do, a couple has to cohabit for a certain number of years. Number 7, Soon-Yi viewed Woody as a father figure. False. Soon-Yi saw Woody as her mother's boyfriend. Her father figure was her adoptive father, Andre Previn. Number 8, Soon-Yi was underage when she and Woody started having relations. False. She was either 19 or 21. Her year of birth in Korea was undocumented, but believed to be either 1970 or 72. Number 9, Soon-Yi was borderline retarded. Ha! She's smart as a whip, has a degree from Columbia University, and speaks more languages than you. Number 10, Woody was grooming Soon-Yi from an early age to be his child bride. Oh, come on. According to court documents and Mia's own memoir, until 1990, when Soon-Yi was 18 or 20, Woody had, quote, little to do with any of the Previn children, but had the least to do with Soon-Yi, so Mia encouraged him to spend more time with her. Woody started taking her to basketball games, and the rest is tabloid history. So he hardly had his eye on her from the time she was a child. He goes on and says, let me add this. If anyone is creeped out by the notion of a 55-year-old man becoming involved with his girlfriend's 19-year-old adopted daughter, I understand. That makes perfect sense. But why not get the facts straight? If the actual facts are so repugnant to you, why embellish them? Why indeed?
Man, I got to say that pretty much nails it, and it pretty much gives a direct address to all the ignorance that is floating around. This is why Jessica Valenti, in her article that's supposedly about the reasons that we should not defend Woody Allen, that none of her reasons had anything to do with Woody Allen. You can bet that Valenti looked for whatever she could in order to throw it out there to tarnish Woody Allen and keep it factual. She didn't
all she needed was that a woman made an allegation and he's a man. In her eyes, he's therefore guilty. And I think there are a lot of people who are conflating his romance with Soon-Yi, who was of age when it began, with him possibly molesting a child. It's like, you know what, desiring to have sex with a 20 or 20-year-old adult does not make you inclined or attracted to children sexually. It just doesn't. And I think a lot of people are confusing their disgust, I guess, for the romance between Woody and Soon-Yi, and now marriage and children, with him possibly being guilty of the allegations that Mia Farrow made in the middle of an extremely contentious custody battle.
This reminds me, Tara, of how people, the leaps in logic that people make. I mean, I've heard growing up. I don't hear it so much now because thankfully it's been debunked. But when they would hear somebody's homosexual, they think they're automatically a greater potential for being a child molester.
Exactly.
Woody Allen, a 55-year-old man, whatever, dates or marries a 20-year-old woman, which is really no different than the age differential was between Mia Farrow and Andre Previn.
Frank Sinatra. Andre Previn was a bit older, yeah. but not 30 years.
But
he was, however, married to her friend Dory Previn and became pregnant while he was married to her friend Dory Previn, who then went on to have a nervous breakdown and wrote a song called Beware of Young Girls in honor of Mia Farrow stealing her husband. So actually, Soon-Yi's just following in her adopted mother's footsteps as far as I can see.
Well, the point here is that I wanted to make was that, you know, because somebody's gay doesn't make them a pedophile.
No.
And just because Woody Allen dated a younger woman, regardless, and I have to agree, I'm not going to say creeped out. I find it crossing a line that's a little too strange for my blood. to think about dating the adopted daughter of somebody that you were involved with. That's just a little.
On the other hand,
it's not. It's not pedophilia, people.
On the other hand, and now I'm going to have to change my tagline to Woody Allen apologist. And this is me going buck wild armchair analyst. If Mia Farrow is as batshit crazy as I suspect she is, as vicious, as nasty, as rage-filled as I suspect she is, I think that might have been something, you could ask, what does a 50-something-year-old man have in common with a 20-year-old girl? Well, if your mother is crazy and abusive and your girlfriend is crazy and abusive, that actually might be something to bond over. And I also think on some level both were looking for a way out, and as anybody who's been involved with an incredibly dysfunctional borderline personality or narcissist or histrionic knows, it's incredibly difficult to leave the relationship with them because they don't allow people to leave, not even their children. And I have to wonder, and again, this is me going crazy, buck wild armchair analyst, is if on some unconscious level, Suni and Woody taking up is what could they do that would keep Mia away from them forever, and striking up a romantic relationship seems to have done it. On the other hand, it also caused her to use their other children as collateral damage in her war against him, in my opinion.
Well, let me point something out, and it should be pointed out that Woody and Sunyi have been married now for 15 years. So whatever else you might say, this was clearly not a marriage of convenience.
Actually, their marriage has lasted longer than any of Mia Farrow's marriages.
I'm afraid that it has. And I must point out something that is at least somewhat indicative that you may have a point. I remember, now it is Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is infested with nonsense. But according to Wikipedia, I saw this and my eyebrow went, children, Mia Farrow, 4 biological, 11 adopted.
She's an animal hoarder, but she hoards children.
Yeah, she's like a woman with 9 cats in her apartment that smells like a fucking litter box.
But adopting disadvantaged children brings her more narcissistic feed, so that's what she does. And I also think that's one of the reasons she's still so friggin' bitter and angry. And you know what? Understandable to be bitter and angry when this first happened. But over 20 years later, not healthy. But I think one of the reasons she was so enraged is because her daughter taking up with her boyfriend kind of puts the kibosh on her whole crunchy Earth Mother image that she had going in the 80s and 90s. For anyone who remembers, that was her image, Mia the Earth Mother. Oh, she was so wonderful.
Go in there. We got in there.
Is that better?
I think it was Dean's thing.
Okay. Did you hear me, or should I repeat what I said?
No, I think we got it. But I just was trying to get Dean to mute his microphone because it
got it.
Okay, so the fact is that we have a woman here who's in the habit of collecting children like somebody collects stray dogs. It even suddenly made Sunyi's behavior seem a little more understandable. That's not a mother figure. That's a woman who is keeping children around because she thrives on the attention that young children give her. That's something.
And the press.
There's something. I mean, normally you could. There's a tendency or a desire to say, "Wow, she's really giving and really cares."
But let me ask you this: how much time do you have to give? How much attention can one person possibly give to 14 children? You can't.
15.
Yeah, let's take a look at it from maybe even a slightly colder perspective. Mia Farrow is a child abuser, is what she is.
Yes.
She is using her children as pawns, as an instrument of revenge for a marriage that went fuck all south a long time ago.
They weren't married.
Sorry, hello. Oh my God, I'm perpetuating the myth. But for a relationship that went south a long time ago, and here she is all these years later still sticking her kids up there with fake abuse stories. And folks, it's fake. The court in Connecticut did an investigation of this at the time of the charges. They found nothing. There's never been any evidence other than...
here's what people are also assuming means that I've seen people say, well, but the family court judge, a completely different judge, in New York State, not Connecticut. The custody battle was fought in New York City. He decided he didn't like the results of the Connecticut report and gave full custody to Mia. And so, well, therefore, in people's minds, because the family court judge sided with Mia, then therefore the investigation by the authorities in Connecticut must have been flawed. It's like anybody who has spent any time in family court knows that oftentimes evidence and facts have nothing to do with the judge's decision, especially when the facts and the evidence are against the mother and in support of the father.
If you wanted to sit there and say, Woody Allen, you did damage to this family by dating your girlfriend's daughter and probably hurt your own children's point of view, that's a very defensible argument. That's a very fair argument. It's a big leap to go from that to rapes 7-year-olds. And oh, by the way, and Mia never noticed this until Dylan was 7, and none of the other children know it. I mean, her brother Moses says this is BS. The whole thing stinks, and it does sound very much like a desire for revenge. I gotta tell you, I mean, I get tired of this. I hate wearing this like a badge. I was sexually abused as a child more than once. I am not lacking in sympathy from anybody who's gone through that shit, and that does not mean I automatically believe anybody who says it happened to them. In fact, it's fully appropriate to ask hard questions. One of the reasons I don't name names is because I don't feel like going back and dredging stuff up from 32 years ago. I just don't want to do that. There's no point. And what is Dylan's point here? Where's the forensic evidence that she was penetrated somewhere? Where is the evidence of much of anything? It isn't there. And false memory syndrome is real, and it is another way that children are frequently abused.
And why did Mia Farrow refuse to take a polygraph test? Woody Allen agreed to one. There's another angle to this that I want to explore for just a second, too, because I think it's relevant. You have to ask yourself, normally with a Hollywood leading man, they get a lot more slack than your average Joe off the street. I think that there is part of this whole scenario and the vulnerability of this guy to the allegation is that he is this sort of nerdy, kind of, I hate to use a word, but I'm going to use it, sort of creepy looking guy that is probably, if he were anybody than Woody Allen, nobody, not many women would give him much attention on the street. And I think that his appearance is enough to make some people just take a look at it. And I think that's what a lot of men deal with, is there's such stereotypes about what a pervert is supposed to look like. Guess what? In this case, the perversion is occurring because of Mia Farrow. Did anybody see the Valentine card that she made?
That's some psychotic. Yeah, and Valentine's Day coming up. We should have grabbed an image for it for today's hangout.
I've never seen anything like that from Woody Allen, and what I see Mia Farrow doing is just using these kids like toilet paper to get back at her husband.
Not just that. She's given her daughter, her 27-year-old daughter, her identity is that of victim.
Sure.
Rage-filled victim, not healthy. Let's say it was true. Okay, let's say it was the allegations were true. Instead of spending the last 20-some years helping this girl heal, she's fed the rage, fed the need for vengeance, fed the pain, fed the hurt. Not healthy. Not healthy.
Right.
Got sick fuck written
Hold on to that. hold on to that pain and that rage, and hold on to it tight. It will keep you warm at night, my sweet darling. I mean, seriously, what the fuck?
Give it to your children if you have them.
The other thing I want to mention, and I was reading the comments on the New York Times piece that Woody published, or the New York Times published for Woody on Friday evening. And in reading the comments, and I think you're right, I think there was a commenter who said that this whole scandal is sort of like a giant Rorschach test for anybody reading about it. And a lot of people are projecting their own stuff onto this instead of looking at it with a critical eye and the evidence. And there were a good number of comments that said, well, you know, Woody just comes off as cold and emotionless, while Dylan's letters are incredibly angry and so emotional. Of course she's telling the truth. It's like, you know, no, actually, don't confuse highly charged emotional intensity with veracity. The two are not automatically linked together. In fact, if you study high conflict personalities, as I do, oftentimes it's known that that's the hook. The emotional intensity is what gets other people to believe high conflict people who are making up false allegations of domestic violence or abuse. And it's also what gets them all of the help in victim advocacy and champions and defenders and negative advocates, because people make the misattribution that appearing incredibly angry and upset must mean that something bad has really happened, and it's true. And I do think something bad has happened to Dylan/Malone Farrow. She changed her name too at least once, I think. In that I think she's been PAS'd into oblivion.
Yep, I think that's the case, and now they've made her identity.
Yeah, the strong emotionality is the hook, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth or that it happened.
Well, it's easy to get by with us, though, because we have in some venues where MRAs frequent. It is just an automatic. The guy's guilty. He did something that makes me feel kind of funny, so what the hell, he's a pedophile too. That's how quick people are to judge. And so I tell you, I proudly wear my Woody Allen apologist wear anywhere I go right now, because this is the kind of odds that a guy is against when an accusation like this is levied against him. And you just go back and find anything. Oh, well, he got busted for pot in 1972. He must have done something else wrong too. That's the mentality, and this stuff is absolutely disgraceful. I hope, and I will. I don't care. People don't like it when I call names. And sometimes I do it anyway. I hope some of the idiots on the AVFM Facebook page that came in there with their comments about Woody being a pervert and that we're picking up the wrong cause by defending this guy. I hope you watch this hangout. I hope you especially pay attention to the list of facts that Dean read out a little while ago, and then come back with your rationale as to why you think this guy must be guilty.
In addition to that, if you look at the timing of the accusations, I mean, or I should say, the re-dredging up of something that allegedly happened, something 20-something years ago, that a panel of experts already decided didn't hold enough merit to prosecute, is the timing of all of this. And there are a couple of articles by, I believe, Michael Wolff in The Guardian, a UK publication, that he points to Ronan Farrow, who was Satchel Farrow, who may be Woody Allen's biological son, but he might also be Frank Sinatra's, which would mean that Mia was screwing around on Woody with her first husband, who was married at the time. And by the way, if he is Frank Sinatra's son, as Woody points out in his New York Times piece, that means that Mia Farrow perpetrated child support fraud and paternity fraud and collected child support for years from Woody Allen for a child who may not even be his. But I digress. Is that Ronan/Satchel Farrow/Sinatra is launching a new talk show on MSNBC. So isn't the timing of this very, very interesting?
It's all coincidence.
To which I would ask, what kind of sick twist uses her adult daughter's alleged molestation to launch her golden child's career? And what kind of brother cashes in on something that, if it did happen, is so incredibly awful and painful to launch his career? That's some sick effing stuff right there. It's just sick.
I'll tell you, it is, and it goes.
It's like a hamster mother eating her young, is what that is. It's maternal cannibalism, in my opinion.
Folks, I'm going to interrupt just for a second here. I want to test out our part of our comment featuring that we're finally figuring out how to use here, and I'm just going to grab a random comment and put it up on the screen, and it won't stay. Oh, there it is.
What the hell does that mean?
Cat call.
Oh, Jessica Valenti. I'm like, what cat?
Right.
Who thinks a cat is calling them?
No. Cat calling, yeah. Jessica Valenti got cat called as a teenager. Therefore, all men are guilty. That's what Valenti and a number of people's reasoning goes like. 4 out of 3 women are raped every year. Therefore, Woody Allen must be guilty because men must be guilty in general, and we're all in great vast denial about the rate of rape.
Just because there was a teenage boys that were desperate enough to think she was attractive.
Well,
right.
that could have just been the raging hormones, but who knows? She might have been a cute kid. The other thing that I find there's just too much cognitive dissonance for me to wrap my mind around is Mia Farrow is positioning herself as this champion of abused, disadvantaged children. Yet she has publicly defended Roman Polanski, who admitted to raping a 13-year-old and even testified on his behalf in court, I think 6 or 7 years ago. I mean, that's some.
Wait a minute. I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah.
Mia Farrow defended Roman Polanski, who clearly is guilty because he says so.
She remained friends with him. He directed her, of course, in Rosemary's Baby. And she remained friends with him over the years, even through exile, and then sometime in the 2000s, mid-2000s, she testified on his behalf because he had, I think, a libel suit because somebody accused him of hitting on a woman on his way to Sharon Tate, his wife who was murdered by the Manson family, on the way to her funeral. And she testified on his behalf to what a great guy he is and how that didn't happen. So, yeah, she's
Your Honor, she looked like she was 15.
I guess Mia Farrow, as long as it isn't Mia Farrow's kid that Roman Polanski raped, that's fine by her.
I think it would have been fine by her if it was her kid. I don't think she gives a damn about her kids in the end. They're just instruments to use to further her means, and if it served her to have one of her kids raped, I wouldn't be surprised if she just would look the other way.
But to me, that level of hypocrisy, I mean, is very telling, as is the fact that...
innocent. Oh God, it's horrible. It's horrible, and I'm going to go back to it because I don't think it can be hammered enough. Most sane adults of almost any age, up to and including in their 50s and 60s. See, some people will say men. I won't even give you that. Most normal adults have at some time or other seen a teenaged, underage person inside and found a certain sexual attraction there. Not that they acted on it, not that they did anything with it, but I'm even hearing people suggesting that even being sexually attracted to a teenager makes him an obvious pedophile. Bullshit. There's nobody watching this, male or female, who never looked at a teenager and thought, wow, sexy. Okay? So, and in no case does that make you a pedophile. It means something you shouldn't do, something irresponsible, and you shouldn't break the law, but it doesn't make you a pedophile. And the fact that he was at all interested in this 19-year-old girl and may have confessed to having had some attraction to her before he did anything is not a crime. It just isn't. okay, I'm 48, I'm married, I can't even conceive of this, but even right now, if somehow I developed an interest in a 15-year-old girl, I wouldn't act on it at all until she was at least 18. And
Well,
and that's what happened here.
But you know what? This is another this is another double standard, right? Men who like younger women are creepy and they're not emotionally mature enough to be with a peer. Women who date men who are considerably younger have their very own sitcom on ABC starring Courtney Cox. And you go, girl, that's your boy toy. Oh, look at that cougar and her cub. You know what? If Woody Allen's creepy for marrying a woman almost 30 years his junior, then so are all of you 40, 50-something-year-old women who are going out with guys in their 20s.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of the point I was getting at there. I mean, and still, every bit of that is a complete universe away from raping a prepubescent 7-year-old child. I'm sorry, it just is. It just is. And how you can... I've had people on Twitter doing this. I've seen it on Facebook. It's always the same. You're defending him because... you're just defending him because he's a man or whatever. I'm like, no, God damn it. This is basic psychological fact. Pedophilia and being attracted to a teenage person or a person in their early 20s, they're not even in the same universe. And it really is. Paul is right. This is just like saying gays are more likely to be a pedophile. Bullshit.
The other thing I want to call bullshit on, because this is what a lot of the people who are waving pitchforks and torches, an argument they make, is that I believe his name, Andrew Mako, I think the last name is Mako, I can't remember his first name. Anyway, he was the district attorney at the time of the investigation in Connecticut, and he very inappropriately made a public statement saying that he chose not to pursue a criminal case against Woody Allen because of the fragility of the then 7-year-old Dylan Farrow. Bullshit. You want to tell me that a DA who's trying to make a political career isn't going to go after a celebrity who had a lot of public enmity directed at him at the time because he did have a relationship with his girlfriend's adult daughter? You want to tell me he wouldn't have gone for that and sunk his teeth in like a terrier with a bone? Of course he would have. I think he made that statement because he was pissed that he didn't have enough evidence and he really wanted to go after him.
And so he convicted him in the court of public opinion anyway.
And by the way, he was professionally reprimanded by his I think his licensing body reprimanded him for making that statement.
Oh, he got the Mary Kellett treatment. Sort of, hey, quit prosecuting all those innocent people.
I tell you, there's one piece that I recommend highly because there's one other villain in this little piece, I believe, and it's Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times. Okay, well, you can say there's, believe it or not, I can't stand anybody on the New York Times opinion page, really, but in any case, he's a columnist for the New York Times, Nicholas Kristof. There's a real good, he's the one who broke this and went ahead and accepted it and published it. And John B. Judas on the New Republic has a real good piece about it saying the New York Times owes its readers an apology. Kristof's column on Dylan Farrow and Allen was out of bounds, and he makes a very good case of why that's so. Nicholas Kristof definitely is the one who decided to use his column space to do this and let it happen. And he also happens to be a good friend of Mia Farrow's. Which I guess you can spin as, well, because I care about the family. No bullshit. Nick Kristof.
He's a journalist, and he abused his position. He abused his journalist's position to advance a very public smear campaign that has no, I mean, I can see writing it. I think this was mentioned in the New Republic article. If new evidence had come to light, then maybe you write a piece that brings the new evidence to light. But no such thing happened. This is just a rehashing of stuff that already went through the media 21 years ago.
And you read Woody Allen Speaks Out from the New York Times. I'll mention that one too. We should make sure they get links to all this if we don't already.
By all means, frame the last paragraph, because Woody,
the very last paragraph
is gold.
I'll just read it to you. Of course I did not molest Dylan. I loved her and hope one day she will grasp how she has been cheated of having a loving father and exploited by a mother more interested in her own festering anger than her daughter's well-being. Being taught to hate your father and made to believe he molested you has already taken a psychological toll on this lovely young woman, and Sunyi and I are both hoping that one day she will understand who has really made of her a victim and reconnect with us as Moses, their other son, has, in a loving, productive way. No one wants to discourage abuse victims from speaking out, but one must bear in mind that sometimes there are people who are falsely accused, and that is also a terribly destructive thing. This piece will be my final word on this entire matter, and no one will be responding on my behalf to any further comments on it by any party. Enough people have been hurt. I believe you, Woody Allen, and I don't care who doesn't like the fact that I believe it, Woody Allen. I do. I believe him. Everything in that entire letter called Woody Allen Speaks Out in the New York Times Sunday Review, it's the perfect description of what a parentally alienated father frequently goes through. It's textbook. It really is, and it all fits the narrative better than Woody Allen, the nerdy nebbish, secretly picking out one prepubescent child and raping her. Give me a break. I'm not buying it.
No, especially since most pedophiles they predate serially. They don't have just one case. They don't target just one child. It's something they do over and over and over again until they get caught.
Nothing about this fits. Not a single.
And you want to tell me that, I mean, there are plenty of people out there, parents who would love to cash in, like the children or the parents of the children who thrust them in front of Michael Jackson and then sued him civilly for alleged sexual molestation charges against their kids. So if he is a celebrity, therefore he is a target. He's also a privileged individual, but he's also a target. If he had molested kids, someone somewhere would have sued him at some point.
Yeah, I actually have to pledge guilty to before his death, to even having assumed Michael Jackson must be guilty in the Michael Jackson case. Now, that is a very different case. I don't want to conflate the two, but there, I had convicted Michael Jackson in his mind and my mind, and then a whole bunch of stuff came out after his death that made me go, why did I just believe that stuff? It looks to me like Michael Jackson was guilty of being weird. And he was targeted by people who wanted money. Even some of the attorneys that helped prosecute him admitted that was true, and that there was real problems with all the stories against him. And they had more credibility than this shit does. This shit does not have credibility in my mind, and nothing's going to make it more credible in my mind, especially when all I get from people is he's a creep who went after his girlfriend's daughter or his wife's daughter. Sorry, not his wife. No, it doesn't add up. I can't think of what else I'd want to say.
Nothing here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, is there anything else that we should talk about this week, or you think we've had enough for this week's Hangout? We're at 43 minutes.
I've got a couple of items I want to go over. One, of course, like I said earlier, Jessica Valenti's just steaming, incisive article on Woody Allen, complete with her typical moronic bullshit and citing Mary Koss's rape statistics. For those interested in the low bar to this Hangout right now, there is a link to Alison Tieman's new video on rape culture and rape statistics. It is another just incredible piece of work. We
love you, Alison. Awesome video.
Just freaking awesome. Anytime somebody comes to you with 1 and 4, just give them a link to this video and walk away, and they'll be sitting there scratching their heads trying to figure out what to say to you for a couple of years. The other thing
cognitive dissonance hurts.
Facts are not good. We also launched last week Mainstream Media, the first episode of that with Warren Farrell and Tom Golden, and we have coined a new term out of it. It's called an Esmay. Tom Golden at the beginning of the Hangout left his browser open and it started feeding back and disrupted the beginning of the show. We all had a great laugh, and then somebody put into the comments, it looks like he pulled an Esmay.
You bastards. I hate you all forever.
Yeah, but it otherwise went very, very well, and I think it was actually good for us. Everybody was a little bit jumpy going into it because it was the first time, and it really broke the ice. We all had a good laugh, and it was a great discussion on Valentine's Day. We're going to be coming back with the series the first Thursday of every month, so look forward to that. We'll be advertising that on A Voice for Men and on this YouTube channel. And
yeah, let me just point something out. Let me just point out that Mainstream Media was an excellent first episode, and a lot of people missed it because it was coincidental. Both had been planned in advance, and somebody missed something. But that hangout happened to be going on at the same time as Karen Strawn's. That first episode of Mainstream Media was going on at the same time as Karen Strawn's historic, I really think, historic presentation at Ryerson University. It was amazing. That's worth checking out if you haven't already checked it out. But at the same time, you missed something special in Mainstream Media. You want to go look for it on Paul Elam's YouTube channel, same channel we're having this hangout on. It was very good, and watch for it monthly. I can't wait to see more of that. We're also going to have more details coming out soon, Paul tells me, about the Detroit conference in June. So now I'm pinning him to the wall publicly and saying, yes, Paul told me soon.
We'll have tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. Dr. Palmatier, any further thoughts for tonight?
Nope.
Oh.
No.
That's the answer I'm used to. See, that should just be the ending tagline.
Someday I may surprise you, but for today, no.
The standing ending of these hangouts will always be, Tara, anything else? No. Okay, so if you're involved in
at the beginning of the program.
Well, but I would have a different answer at the beginning of the program because I have stuff to say then. Could you say it's nice to find a woman who just doesn't keep rehashing the same things over and over and over again?
I'll let you know when I find one.
Oh, okay. If you're involved in an abusive relationship with a woman or think you might be, please check out shrinkformen.com. If you're interested in other issues or issues involving men, women, and so on from a perspective that does not assume the stupid man good, bad, woman good mythology that is our times, check out avoiceformen.com. See you next Monday.
Bye-bye.